Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you today with an article from the Daily Signal dated March 4th. It says, Dems fighting over billionaires have been on the billionaire dole for years. And isn't it amazing that once there's a billionaire that's not on their side, I was going to say working against them, but a billionaire that's not on their side, that they're like, oh, now we're against billionaires, even though it's like they conveniently forget about, George Soros or folks like that are, helping them out. But, that's kind of how the Democrats work. But anyway, let's get into it. It says, numerous elected Democratic officials have criticized the wealthy despite taking funding from billionaires in the past, which seems like a duh. Of course they have. It says, railing against billionaires has been a popular Democratic rhetorical device for decades, but the criticism has to come to the forefront since Elon Musk took the lead of the Department of Government Efficiency and has made many substantial government changes in President Donald Trump's administration. Though there is a long list of Democratic officials who have condemned the ultra-rich, here are just 7 high-profile Democrats who have recently made anti-billionaire statements despite having accepted support from billionaires in the past. And would it surprise you, even in the least, that Elizabeth Warren is on the list? I mean, talk about, hypocrite to the max, and I'm sure Bernie's on this list too. But starting with Elizabeth Warren, says Democratic Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren has criticized billionaires throughout her career, making policies on taxing the wealthy a staple of her political campaigns. Since 2019, Warren has even sold mugs branding the words billionaire terrors for $28 on her campaign's website, which she began selling them in 2019. They were $25. So despite her strong anti-billionaire sentiments, Warren accepted funding from at least 30 billionaires from 2011 to 2019, according to a New York Post review of her campaign donations. As Warren posted on X during Trump's presidential run that he promised his rich-as-hell donors tax cuts that won't help working people one bit. On February 12th, Warren told Rolling Stone that Trump is trying to distract people from his failure to cut costs for families, that he's playing up to the billionaires. Says George and Alex Soros, and what the heck did Daily Signal just do with that little jump there anyway? Says George and Alex Soros, Facebook COO Sheryl Sandberg, Susan Pritzker, wife of Hyatt heir Nicholas Pritzker II, Christopher Sacca, a venture capitalist who went on Shark Tank, GitHub founder Tom Preston Warner's wife, Teresa, and David Geffen, co-founder of DreamWorks, and many more all donated thousands of dollars to Warren's presidential and senatorial campaigns, according to the New York Post. And calling these folks hypocrites isn't going to, do anything to make them stop doing this. They're not going to stop. They're just going to keep railing against something that they themselves are 100% for. So next is former President Joe Biden. I forgot the former part there. My mistake. Get a slap across the face for that one. So former President Joe Biden began his presidency calling for unity in his inaugural address, but left office without warning that an oligarchy was taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy in his farewell speech. Biden took funding from at least 230 billionaires during his 2020 presidential campaign, which amounted to 25% of America's billionaires at that time, according to Forbes. Trump received money from only 14% of American billionaires that year. So, seems like there's a bit of a difference. Biden's menagerie of ultra-rich backers included George Soros, because of course it did, Ralph Lauren, Melody Hobson, wife of George Lucas. I did not know that. That was her name, at least. Eric Schmidt, former CEO at Google, the founders of companies like DoorDash, Patagonia, and Netflix, as well as the family heirs to the Walmart fortune. Some billionaire donors gave a few $1,000s, and others gave up to $1.7 million. Forbes noted that at least 60 Biden donors also gave to some of Biden's super PACs, Facebook co-founder Dustin Moskovitz contributing $47 million, and Mike Bloomberg rolling out $100 million. Biden also presented his billionaire donor George Soros the Presidential Medal of Freedom last month, along with Hillary Clinton and Denzel Washington. Denzel's the only one there that, makes sense. The other two are just, what? And there's a tweet from Alex Soros. He can go F himself. And it says, final thing on the Joe Biden one says, I love Bernie, but I'm not Bernie Sanders. I don't think 500 billionaires are the reason why we're in trouble, Biden said in 2018 at the Brookings Institution. The folks at the top aren't bad guys. I get in trouble in my party when I say wealthy Americans are just as patriotic as poor folks. I found no distinction. Well, that's actually a fairly common sense thing that Joe Biden said there. But let's just relegate him to the dustbin of history and move on to our next person here. It says, Democratic Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, who is a nut job. If you don't know anything about him, go look it up. It says, in a video posted to X on February 5th, Democratic Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison repeated Biden's oligarch claim. He concluded the video with a call to action: the small, tiny little group of oligarchs that are trying to destroy our democracy. We can stop them if we band together. We are the many, they are the money, and we can overwhelm them. And I should mention that Keith Ellison is a communist, so there's that. It says in 2018, Ellison accepted $100,000 from Alex Soros, George Soros' son and business successor, according to the Washington Free Beacon. This amount represents a little less than half of funds raised by an independent expenditure committee devoted to Ellison's campaign success. And that is Keith Ellison on the left there. And he's like a far left. I mean, I already say he's a communist, but he's like the stereotypical far left radical too. Says Alex Soros, like his father, is a left-wing billionaire philanthropist. He's a lot more on the fringe than his dad was. Joseph Vasquez, associate editor and George Soros expert at the Media Research Center, told the Daily Caller News Foundation he's going to be a much more potent political threat. This Vasquez and Alex Soros might use his father's business like a wrecking ball, and that he may take that $32 billion empire and smash it against wherever he needs to in order to turn his father's vision into reality. And that would be bad for everybody. Not cutting that out. This Vasquez and Tom Olahan outline why Alex Soros could be even worse than his father in a Media Research Center report titled Meet the New Boss. The authors conclude in the report that Alex Soros might be more radical than his father on everything from abortion to climate change to the weaponization of race to demonize his political opponents. Wouldn't be surprised. Says Ellison is one of several Democratic officials that filed a federal lawsuit against Trump's executive order banning child sex changes. He said in a statement on February 7th that our children deserve so much better than to be targeted by the President of the United States and his billionaire cronies, pointing to how child sex changes are evidence-based, they're not, and this executive order is mean-spirited and deeply hurtful. So it's a feelings argument. It's not a logical argument that you have there. So that doesn't work for me, buddy. And no, I don't like Keith Ellison, but sticking with Minnesota, Democratic Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar. This Democratic Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar recently joked about Trump being for sale. The record shows she has accepted funding from at least 21 billionaires. What is the difference between Greenland and Donald Trump? Greenland is not for sale, Klobuchar said at the Washington Press Club Foundation annual congressional dinner, according to the Huffington Post. Wow, Amy, that is so brilliant of you to say that. I'm glad your writers came up with that one. It says during Klobuchar's 2020 presidential campaign, she accepted donations from 15 billionaires and 6 of their spouses, including LinkedIn co-founder Reid Hoffman, according to a Forbes analysis. Why couldn't I say that word all of a sudden? Of federal election findings. Anyway. So DNC Chair Ken Martin, he's the new, as it says, their newly elected Democratic Party Chair Ken Martin has contributed to this anti-billionaire narrative multiple times. Trump and the billionaire cabinet bought this country, he wrote on X on February 7th, so this guy is not smart. It says George Soros gave at least $250,000 to Martin's Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party in 2022, according to the Center of the American Experiment, a Minnesota-based think tank. Are we on the side of the robber baron, the ultra-wealthy billionaires, the oil and gas polluter, the union buster, or are we on the side of the American working family, Martin asked the DNC crowd during his acceptance speech on February 1st. But you guys are definitely not for the American working family. Okay, so try again, pal. So, and that's him down there in that shot, in that screenshot, that Twitter embedded tweet. It says, on January 19th, while Martin was still a DNC chair candidate, he went on record saying he will only take money from good billionaires going forward. You mean billionaires that agree with you. Not necessarily good, because if you're taking them from George and Alex Soros, you are not taking them from good billionaires, so try again. This former Vice President Kamala Harris says former Vice President Kamala Harris critiqued the Washington Post and the New York Times for not endorsing her 2024 presidential run, and suggested that her opponent only cares about billionaires in Donald Trump's club during a podcast appearance with Charlemagne the God. A total of 83 billionaires supported Harris's presidential campaign, according to Forbes Federal Election Commission findings analysis. Notable Democratic PAC backers included George Soros, Laurene Powell with Jobs, Gordon Getty, as well as Bill Gates, who donated $50 million. And there's Alex Soros, who likes to take pictures with all the politicians that he's bought. Oh, and there's Bernie down there. I was getting kind of worried. I'm like, Bernie's not going to show up on this list. But of course, I got to have Nancy Pelosi on there too, because of course. Says Democratic California Representative Nancy Pelosi wrote on X on February 10th that Republicans are enabling financial predators to rip off hardworking Americans to reward their billionaire donors. The Golden State representative is tied to House Majority Forward, a dark money nonprofit that received $3 million from Swiss billionaire, and I'm going to butcher this name, Hans-Jörg Wyss in 2020, according to Fox. Pelosi has received much criticism for her own high net worth over her career, as some estimates rank her as one of the wealthiest members of Congress. Many have suspected that Pelosi, along with her husband Paul Pelosi, have participated in insider trading, but Paul Pelosi has refuted these claims. No, I probably think that seems pretty likely considering the extreme wealth that she now lives in that just doesn't happen on a congressional salary. And it's not like her husband does something that, like, is so high paid that this would happen. Like, not a thing. So they can deny it all they want, but nobody believes you, Nancy. So, of course, we come on to Bernie. So it says, independent Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders announced plans to fight the oligarchy on February 12th. His spokesperson Anna Barr told Politico that Sanders will support working-class people, while Donald Trump and Elon Musk marches toward authoritarianism, oligarchy, and kleptocracy. Never mind that all of those things were much closer to happening under Joe Biden than anything Bernie would want, the old commie, compared to anything Donald Trump has actually said, which is nothing like that at all. It's just he's using words that people don't really know what they mean, and I'm not sure Bernie even knows what those mean, but that, like, the only thing you can do when he says something like that is go, like, where is that happening? Where's any of that happening? It's not. Says the Washington Free Beacon reported the senator's change in rhetoric from critiquing both millionaires and billionaires until dropping the millionaire once he became one in 2019. Yes, because Bernie owns like 3 houses and he sold a book, made a lot of money, and then everybody said that. Like, if you listen to any people talk about Bernie and how his attitude changed, it's like he stopped saying millionaires once he became one, so now it says billionaires. And what if Bernie became a billionaire? Would he start railing about like trillionaires or something, even though it's not really a thing? It says federal findings show that Sanders received just under $500 from one billionaire donor, Marta Tama Hall, the wife of billionaire Velodyne founder David Hall in 2019. I've not heard of any of those people or what Velodyne, I don't know what that is. After Forbes notified Sanders' campaign, they claimed they wouldn't keep the money. I wonder if they actually still did, which wouldn't be surprising. It says most Americans should believe that as a citizen, you're allowed to attempt to influence the political process. Brian Doherty, Los Angeles Times best-selling author and senior editor at libertarian magazine Reason, told the Daily Caller News Foundation, you're allowed to have your voice. Doherty expressed skepticism regarding this anti-billionaire narrative. I don't think the Democrats complaining about Elon Musk really have a political objection to billionaires funding political causes, Doherty said. It's a rhetorical red herring. Doherty added that when voters are aware of the range of really rich people funding both parties and both causes, they are likely to lose that sense of anger regarding wealthy donor influence. The offices of Warren, Ellison, Pelosi, Martin, Harris, Klobuchar, Newsom, and Sanders did not respond to the Daily Caller's News Foundation's request for comment. Yes, because they don't actually want to stand by their principles. They say they're against billionaires, but they're going to accept money from them. I'm sorry, but you lost out on your principles there, pals. So we'll leave it on Pocahontas here. So do you guys find this surprising at all? That the people that have been, screaming out being, people being on the take for billionaires are kind of, been accepting money from them as well. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.